I know that I'm super late to the party when I'm talking about the winner of the Best Documentary Feature Film Oscar almost a month after it won that Oscar. But better late than never. And I guess you could consider me fashionably late, if you consider me fashionable at all, which I know you don't. But anyway, intro. Take one. How's it going, everyone? Steve here, and tonight we're going to be talking about the film My Octopus Teacher, a Netflix documentary directed by Pippa Ehrlich and James Reed and narrated by Craig Foster. Craig Foster was a nature documentarian who spent years feeling stress from his job, so he did what anybody feeling stress would do and started swimming in the frigid cold waters off the coast of South Africa. At one point while doing this, he found and started filming an octopus. He filmed his interactions with this octopus for about a year, and over the course of that year, a bond, and oddly enough, seemingly a friendship, formed between the two. It's not that I dislike nature documentaries, and it's not like I would not like this type of film, but I will admit up front that I was not exactly excited to watch My Octopus Teacher. I didn't even know the film existed until the Octopus nominees. Wow. I didn't even know this film existed until the Oscar nominees for Best Documentary Feature were announced. And when I heard this film was an Oscar nominee, I was like, the hell is My Octopus Teacher? My favorite documentary of 2020 and of the nominees up to that point, and still now, was Time. So I was convinced that Time was going to take this award home. But then I realized that My Octopus Teacher was getting a ton of attention. And then a friend of mine told me straight up that he saw it and he thought it was really good. So I was like, alright, I guess I better look into what this is. And it might be because my expectations were not very high, but when I first watched the film, I was blown away. I went in thinking that I would be bored throughout this whole thing, but my eyes were constantly glued to the screen. One thing I have to say about My Octopus Teacher right off the bat is that it is breathtakingly shot. There is not one instance of bad cinematography in this film that I can think of, and it's all the more impressive considering that a ton of this is shot underwater. I know it's possible to shoot scenes underwater, and that if you're trained well enough that you can do it, but it's not as easy by any stretch of the word as it is to shoot on land. I'm sure that there was a lot more footage shot than this, especially considering the film was shot over the course of the year, but they picked the perfect footage to use for this film, and it all works. There isn't one shot in this film that I would consider bad. Hell, there isn't even one shot in this film that I would consider close to amateur. But what really struck a chord with me about this film was overall the story it's telling and the implications it has for the relationship between man and nature in general. Above all, this is a story about exploration of trust and how it challenges the notion that man can't trust animal or animal can't trust man. Obviously, as this film starts out, this guy is interacting with this octopus and it pretty much doesn't want to have anything to do with him, but because he's coming by so often and because the octopus ends up kind of getting used to him being there, eventually it kind of branches into what appears to be a little something more. Not only does it get to the point where they're just used to seeing each other and where the octopus is used to having this guy around, but eventually it almost gets to the point where it looks forward to him being around. It is something that we don't often see portrayed in nature documentaries because obviously from nature documentaries' points of view, they're usually taken from afar. You don't usually see people interacting directly with animals, and especially not with sea life. One of the things that I found also fascinating about the film is that obviously this guy, Craig Foster, is a nature documentarian. This is not his first time interacting with wildlife, but he begins to grow wary of how far he's going in trying to develop a bond with this octopus. There are certain situations where the octopus could potentially be in danger. And this guy wants to help this octopus, but he has to constantly struggle with, all right, do I swoop in and try and stop whatever's going to happen? Or am I going to be interfering with the course of nature in doing that? And should I just stay back and let it try and get out of it itself and see what happens. And eventually this gets harder and harder to do because it's almost like this octopus and this guy are becoming friends. Now, regardless of what the answer to that question is or what you think the answer to that question is, it is really fascinating seeing this happen throughout the course of the film. And that's what I really loved about this film. Does it have the external trappings of your average nature documentary? Kind of. But the fantastic cinematography, the really compelling story and experiment that this guy and this octopus go through, and those questions it asks, and how they actually parallel this guy's life and kind of help him in a weird way get out of the depressive rut that he's been in for years. Watching all of this culminate and happen over the course of this time that this guy has with this octopus is really fascinating. And for that reason, I've got to recommend watching this. Even if you don't like nature documentaries or don't generally like documentaries, check this one out. It really is fascinating. My Octopus Teacher is available to watch on Netflix right now, and if you have Netflix, I strongly recommend you watch this film. It's not very long, it's only like an hour and a half, maybe a little less, but check it out. That's all for today's review. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and helps people who don't know about my content but would like to see content like this find my channel more easily. And if you're new here and you want to actually see more of what I do, go ahead and hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel. And if you really want to be notified about my videos instead of just randomly finding them every great now and then, go ahead and hit the bell icon so you can be notified when I post a new video. And with that, have a great night, and I'll see you later.